Are baby boomers tougher than you? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Recollection Road channel. What is the age again for baby boomers? They'll say the year. They should say the year in here. Appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
When we think about how life was years ago, it's hard not to compare it to things today. Although the middle of the 20th century was a pivotal time, with the quality of life being at an all-time high, the kids growing up during this time still dealt with some challenging moments. So here are some reasons baby boomers grew up tough, and why they might be tougher than you.
All right, let's do it. See if I can relate.
Remember Bert the Turtle? The cartoon creature was created for a short film called Duck and Cover, shown to young students in the 1950s to teach them about dropping to the floor and hiding underneath their desks in case of a nuclear attack. Students were told to shelter under furniture and cover up their bodies, like Bert hiding inside his shell. The arms race with Russia was on, and the US was no longer the only nuclear power. The disaster preparations also included building and stocking underground bomb shelters at home. Thankfully, the unthinkable never came to pass, leaving duck and cover drills and underground bunkers to the memories of baby boomers.
Now they got bunkers.
Baby boomers of all ages played outside all the time, playing various street games with neighborhood friends, or even riding their bike through town, having the common sense to dodge traffic as they made their way around. It seemed like everyone watched everyone else's kids, so there was no need for helicopter parenting. On a typical Saturday morning, moms couldn't wait to kick their kids out of the house, some even locking the screen door behind them. The only time you were let back in was for lunch or dinner. Neighborhood kids wandered around in packs and occupied their time by using their imagination and working together to keep busy. Most parents had no idea where their kids were for long stretches of time, and it worked out great for both kids and adults.
Now you got those kids riding
Rediscover
bikes,
your past by digitizing your family's memories with
riding bikes
Legacy
up to the
Box.
cars
Watch until the end
and
of this
dodging
video
them.
to find out more about preserving your legacy, and then visit legacybox.com/recollection. How long has it been since you made a call using a rotary dial phone? These clunky but reliable machines once brought families together, enabling people to stay in touch across long distances. These phones were very much manual. Not only did you have to know the phone number, or at the very least know how to look it up in a phone book, but you had to make the call by rotating the dial one number at a time, as you waited for it to spin back around. Rotary phones were even a step up from the party lines that some baby boomers remember, and all of this emphasizes the patience that kids grew up practicing on a daily basis. From early on, boomer kids understood that respect for elders was important. Starting out with learning manners and also addressing adults as sir or ma'am, boomers were raised to respect authority. This generation's parents valued traits that built character, like sacrifice, hard work, following rules, and respecting experience. And they underscored the importance of all of these traits through their kids. This translated to when they entered the workforce too, where many baby boomers were loyal to their employers, often spending an entire career with the same company, even through thick and thin.
Big facts.
Growing up in the 1950s and 1960s, having a disagreement sometimes meant settling it by stepping outside. There was no trolling or cyberbullying. Everyone knew who the bullies were, and things were dealt with face to face. Fighting back or standing up for yourself built character, and parents were mostly supportive when their kid fought back. Getting a black eye from a fist fight was pretty normal back then, with squabbles happening on occasion in the schoolyard or around the neighborhood. Both the bully and the bullied benefited from dealing with problems head-on, and consequences were a real thing back then. It usually made the bully rethink their actions, while it built confidence for the other party. Taking a punch and moving on was commonplace for boomers. When you fell off your bike, or maybe even got tripped up in a pair of metal skates in the 1960s, you know firsthand what first aid looked like. Scraped up knees and elbows always got the same treatment, and it included a bottle of red stuff called mercurochrome. This was an antiseptic solution that burned a bit, but not nearly as bad as iodine. Parents swabbed mercurochrome on the wound and then covered it with a Band-Aid. This stuff was basically liquid mercury, and not only did it sting, but it also smelled and stained everything. Mercurochrome was in just about every medicine cabinet. That is, until the FDA figured out that drugs containing mercury could have harmful effects on the brain and kidneys. Did you have a mom that made you clean your plate before you were excused from the dinner table? Being a picky eater wasn't an option back then, and baby boomers had to stomach some unappetizing dishes. Think liver and onions, or those vegetable-infused jello molds. The clean your plate mentality was rooted in the past, when food scarcity and poverty was widespread. It was also a sign of appreciation to eat all of your food, because your mother had spent so much time preparing the meal. So this is another example of having respect for your parents and doing as they said. Playgrounds were built differently when baby boomers were playing on them. Remember swinging so hard that part of the swing set would lift up off the ground? Or what about the massive slides that would leave burns from the scorching metal on a hot summer day? From seesaws that would slam you down on the asphalt, to the jungle gyms that you would slip off of. There were more things at the playground that would knock the wind out of you than anywhere else. The risk was worth the fun though, and it taught children to be tough, while also using common sense. Baby boomers were the generation that were placed in harm's way by the US government when it came to the very unpopular Vietnam War. Young men from this generation were drafted into military service and sent overseas to fight off communism in South Vietnam in an effort to flex our muscle during the Cold War. The proxy war ended up costing nearly 60,000 American lives, and ended up failing in achieving the political goals that drew us into the conflict. But this doesn't diminish the bravery and effort put forth by the boomers that shouldered this war. Other things that toughened up kids as they grew up was the lack of safety equipment. Think about what football helmets looked like even for professionals back then. Kids didn't wear bicycle helmets. They just got used to getting scraped up or even bumping their head. In the car, there were no seatbelts. Kids were just protected by the heavy steel of the car chassis and the arm of their mother reaching across to stop them from hitting the dashboard. If we think about houses back then, there was no childproofing. Kids learned not to play with electrical outlets by, well, first playing with electrical outlets and then realizing that wasn't such a good idea. Let's face it, trial and error taught baby boomers a lot about how the world worked, and it toughened them up in the process.
Trial and error.
Today, watching TV means laying in your bed or on the couch and not exerting any energy. But for baby boomers, watching TV was a more physical activity. First, you had to manually turn the TV on and off. Then you had to tune the TV to the correct channel. Luckily, there were only a few to choose from. After that, the antenna would need adjusting, so you would move it around until you could see the picture clearly. Sometimes this would also mean adding some tinfoil to the ends of the rabbit ears. And then, just as you sat down to watch your program, you realized the volume needed to be turned up. It could be an exhausting activity, just trying to get things perfect to watch TV. And usually the kids functioned as the remote control, while Dad called out the commands. Now, with all of this perceived danger surrounding a baby boomer's childhood, you would think that dialing 911 on the phone might get a little overused. But through all of this, the emergency number did not even exist. That's why if you had minor injuries, you were just told to rub some dirt on it, and then later some mercurochrome. If it was a more serious injury, then you could get into the car and drive to the hospital, or even call a local emergency number to request an ambulance. So basically what this meant was that baby boomers learned to cope with varying degrees of pain as they waited for help to arrive.
No 911.
One thing that officially makes someone tough is their ability to take care and survive on their own. This was certainly true for baby boomers, who entered adulthood at a much younger age than what is expected today. Finishing school, finding a job, and then getting married were expectations of the time, and most of this was done before the age of 20. For some it was even earlier, but one thing is for certain, they weren't living with their parents into their 30s. By then they were settled into a comfortable life, with kids in a home of their own, backed by strong work ethic and a toughness that helped them create a life for themselves. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and make sure to sign up for the Recollection Road newsletter using
No 911. Told y'all it's the texting. It's the TikToks, the Twitters. People just, I can go outside my house right now and look around and you'll see no kids playing in the neighborhood. Like the way, even me, we used to be excited, man. You get up, throw on something, go take your bike or just something. You just got out the house. It was so much fun. Whether you're playing football in the street, basketball, whatever, you were out of that house, you know. The kids today, I think it has a lot to do because there's a lot of parents that are kids too. You know what I mean? Not by age, but mentally, you know. But yeah, great video. Shout out to the Recollection Roll. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.